and welcome to Wanita Berdaya Selangor's Suara Wanita Selangor series. My name is Tamina Kauji and it's an absolute pleasure to be taking us through this next discussion on women and family development in Selangor. Well, who better to be in our hot seat today than YB Dr. Siti Mariah binti Mahmud, who is of course the Selangor State Exco for Health, Women and Family Empowerment.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Your experiences as a female policymaker in Selangor State. Tell us about where you got your start and how things have been going over the past almost decade for you at Selangor State level.
After working for about 15 years and then decided to resign from work, and I got into politics so it's about 20 plus years now. Well, my first election, the first attempt election was in 2004, which I lost to the then MIC youth leader, and only in 2008 I won the Kota Raja seat and 2013 Kota Raja seat. At that time, I think there were about 4 of us in Selangor, women parliamentarian, and only in 2018 I sat for the state legislative seat. So it has been like continuous 3 terms as an elected representative. UMNO had women representatives, and my MCA got women representatives. So when I started as one of the past leaders, we did not have any women representatives. So we were like the first batch experimented to become candidates in 2004. At that time, it was me and the late Dr. Lok Lok at that time, At that time, we wanted to change the mindset of women in past because we want women to be in the mainstream. And the party had to accept that if you don't include women in the mainstream, then you cannot become a mainstream party. So that was how it began, So I was mainly encouraging women to take part in politics because explaining to them that we need to get involved in policy making, because whatever policies our politicians make, our leaders make, will definitely affect us. So therefore we must get involved, because there are many things that people decide without asking the women. So that's how I started off my political life. And of course, we have made strides in the political scene, and I think all the women in all the political parties, we are quite in the same wavelength. So we don't differ here. All of us want more women representation. We want more women to be in decision-making posts. We want more women in parliament. We want more women in the state seat as well. But if you see in the parliamentary seat, we did not make much progress until now. I think we're still below 15%.
Correct.
Right? And in the state seat in Selangor, I think we nearly make it to 30%. In fact, from 2013 until recently, we have 30% women as EXCO members.
And how did that actually happen? Were there some policies put in place?
Well, actually, when we became government, there was a determination on the women politicians in all the parties, especially in Pakatan Harapan, Pakatan Rakyat, that we want 30% of women to be involved, And there are a lot of women involved, but at different levels. And we always got this feedback from the male politicians who say that, we want to put women, but there's not enough women. There are not many women who wants to come forward. And as usual, when you want to put a woman, there's always a lot of questions about her qualifications, her ability,
It's interesting though that question never comes up if we are fielding men.
Agree.
Even if they are brand new.
Agree. Yeah. That is how we fought back, and we say that when it comes to a woman candidate, you want to see so many things, to qualify for a woman candidate. But when it comes to men, people seldom ask, leadership seldom ask, and they will ask about acceptability. Will the voters vote for women and all that? I think we've crossed that. We've
Yes,
crossed
we
that.
have. And if anything, I feel that we notice these days women candidates being fielded by all parties across the board.
parties.
They are in fact supremely well qualified
Yeah.
to be taking on whichever position.
Yeah. So I think every party has their story. I think all the women in
Sure.
all the political parties has to fight for this. You know, we more or less every party work towards having more women, in getting more women into politics, at the same time training more women to be ready for political positions, because when you join politics, there is no difference between a man or woman. People expect the same thing in terms of performance,
Commitment as well.
commitment as well. So it has been in the past. It's always about, can women commit? You know, because women got lots of responsibilities, you know, and so on and so forth. So I think we have already break that glass. Yeah, we have broken that ceiling. That yes, women can perform as well as the man, and women are as committed as before. But we have to change certain mindset amongst the women themselves, because you see, most of us have been brought up. I'm a baby boomer from the 1950s.
Sure.
We were brought up with that sense of responsibility that your main and primary duty is always your family. You know, and you see, you have to be a superwoman to do everything. You know, so we have to break that mindset that you don't have to be a superwoman. You can choose what you want to be. You can delegate some of the functions that has been traditionally delegated to you. You know, so we have to break that mindset, because it's like always like there's a saying that says, how high a woman is educated, at the end is still the kitchen. You know, so we have to tell the women, you don't have to be in the kitchen. You can always ask someone else to cook for you. You know,
That someone else, of course, being your partner, your husband.
Yeah, it can be your
taking
partner,
on.
or you can delegate to other people. You can buy the food, whatever it is. You know, so to break that mentality from women itself takes time, because women feel beholden to those traditional responsibility. And of course, we know we have never denied that if you choose to become a mother, you choose to become a wife, there are things that we call primary responsibilities. Yeah, and we have other things which we consider secondary. You don't have to do it yourself. You know, so that mindset have to be changed in women themselves before they can see themselves as capable, you know, and able, and on par with men.
And receiving a lot of that support also comes from many of the initiatives moving along, YB, which the Selangor state government has been going into. So if you would be able to tell us a little bit more about the policies for family and women.
When I came in 2018, there was already Dasar Wanita Negeri Selangor, which was a few years back. That was done already on Dasar Wanita, which is supposed to guide us in what activities we do as a Women Exco. And of course, there were a lot of things that in economy, in gender sensitivity, in equality, in all those things. We have it stated in our Dasar Wanita Selangor. What is more important is the action plan. How do you reach? How do you get to do those things? You know, so. The other thing is that there's so much to do, but there are not many people who are directly involved. And of course, the question we have: how are we going to present? How are we going to have a pool of 30% women? Where are they coming from?
True.
You know. Of course, we already have people who are in activism. They are already in the political parties. But if we were to rely women in political parties themselves, it's very difficult for us to fulfill that 30%, because you know that it's not necessarily women just who are active in politics. There are women out there too who may not be active in politics, but they are equally qualified, but they do not understand the world of politics yet. Yeah, so that's why Selangor, when we were operating under Institute Wanita Berdaya last time, we already have Dasar Wanita Selangor. It has five what we call the 5 elements in it, and what other
7 goals
7 goals and as well, you know. So whatever activity we plan at the exco level, we'll see where does this, which objective does it meet? So we just don't do things on air like that. We look at
It's very structured.
It's very structured. So, okay, this activity, what do you have under this goal? What do you have under this vision and all that? So we create our activities around that. So when we talk about one of the things that we want to do, that we want to fulfill that 30% women as decision makers, we realize that we have to increase the number of women involved. So with that, we started a new program which we call Academy Kepimpinan Wanita. This is from my own experience actually. When I joined politics, I know nuts about politics. I just wanted to contribute. I just wanted to be a voice for women. I'm inspired by the fact that I just went for 2 or 3 what we call workshops on women and politics, you know, at that time by various NGOs, you know, and that gives an idea that you open a little bit of window for the women, and they will broaden their
horizon.
Yeah, their horizon, you know. So we started what we call Academy Kepimpinan Wanita, so that women get exposed to leadership programs. What you need to know as a leader, you know, what are the policies and how can you get involved, you know.
How to debate properly when you're called to the bench.
How to present yourself, how to communicate, you know, and they have to understand economy, they have to understand how laws are enacted, things like that. But we wanted to make it not too heavy on them, you know, because we do not know who would be interested. So we initially open up to our penyelia PWB, and then later on we open up to women out there. You know, we have people who have got PhDs and masters in other fields, but when they come into our Academy Kepimpinan Wanita, oh, we didn't know about this.
Yes, of course. It's a different perspective.
It's a
and at the
different
same time,
perspective.
it's breaking the barrier, because you don't only attract women who have professional qualifications, but women from across the sector.
So that's very important for women to understand that they have to take an active role in politics, because that's where the decisions are made, that's where the policies are made. You know, we like to give examples, very obvious examples to them. When women were involved, what happened when women were not involved, and what happened when women are involved. I said the result of us not being involved for so long is that we are now having difficulties when we want to work. We are lacking in nurseries, childcare facilities, you know, and workplace are not friendly to women, blah blah blah. You know, so those are simple examples we show to them that why our input is very important, because our worldview is totally different from the men.
Yeah,
So
and these are historical issues, though they can be changed quite quickly in a generation.
Yes. There, you are right there. So therefore, when we show these examples, they too now, because of women, and we showed them that you see 60 to 70% of women gets to the university, but once they come out after that,
Correct.
yeah, they don't go anywhere else because they are bogged down by this, you know. And we have only less than, at that time, 2018, we have less than 50% of women in the workforce, you know, and the importance of being workforce. Of course, women feel guilty about leaving their family, but some of them say that then they don't want to have to choose between family and career and all that. So we showed them how it can be done. You know, it's not impossible to have everything.
With the correct support, of course.
Yes, with the correct. So therefore, we have to create that support for women.
Very true.
You see, because as I say, our worldview is different. But if you don't opine, you don't give your opinion, you don't expect the male decision makers to read what is in our head.
Very true.
Yeah.
So speaking about decision making, the Selangor state government's current budget is 2.5 billion ringgit. Amongst that, there is also a very encouraging Selangor First.
Yes.
200,000
Rancangan
ringgit.
Selangor Pertama.
Yes.
RS1.
That's right. There's also 200,000 ringgit that has been allocated for the very first time at a state level for addressing period poverty.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more, YB, about how this became, of course, conversations that were happening amongst the rakyat.
I think the conversations
to
about
policy level.
Period poverty came to our what we realized it during the COVID.
Correct.
I think before nobody talks about period poverty.
Not so openly,
Not so openly. And I guess, there's a little bit of age gap, of course, and there's also a little bit of what we call experience. You see, I was saying that I'm from the older generation. Then the young girls are no more with us, because there's a gap. So we need to listen from them. Because honestly speaking, that not all of us follow trends. Not all of us follow social media. So we do need a mixture of women leaders from all age groups. Yeah, we cannot have only like, okay, you 50 and 60 and above, 40 and above. We need those from the 30 and above, and we need 20, and we need from the teenagers as well. Because what they face now is different from what we faced before. So that we have to listen to them, and we have to understand what they're going through. So when it was like a shocking news to us, to me especially, when people talk about period poverty, basically because coming from a different background,
yes,
we did not experience that. We have no problem buying sanitary pads. We got our pocket money to buy. But when COVID came, then we realized that this is serious.
Yes. Everybody who was a daily wage earner,
yes,
for example,
and buying a pack of sanitary pad can be the cost of one chicken. Depending, of course. But of course, it's not cheap. And to buy something hygienic. So in the end, I heard this, but I don't know whether it's true because I have not listened on my own. But someone related to me, some women said, "Oh, I'd rather get pregnant than having to buy the sanitary pad, and because then I don't have to have my period every month." Then I was, oh my God, this fella is like, you're thinking very short.
Correct.
You don't know when you're going to deliver another baby, and then you're going to have more demands.
A full life cycle.
Already.
That's right.
So,
and moving along,
we did discuss about this. So we decided that we have to help out because the girls are not talking. And after that only we get a lot of feedback from NGOs and all that who works on the ground. And that is the reason too why our Menteri Besar allocated that amount through MBI so that we can help the girls in schools to get the sanitary pads. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Very valuable. Why from there, moving along into some of the broader frameworks for addressing issues facing children in the state of Selangor.
Yeah.
Tell us more about some of the agenda.
All right. Because I'm looking after women and family.
Correct.
We don't have a department for children, and we don't have a department for senior citizens. So family is a big thing. So I feel that it's not. The budget was not enough for us to also cater for children
adequately.
Yeah. We did start under health programs, food for children, milk for children, but we find that definitely we want early childhood, a better early childhood for children. So we did a lot of brainstorming, and we had Merdeka Center to do for us some studies, from all holistically, from parents, from teachers, from NGOs, and to see what are the needs of the early childhood. So early childhood is very important. We know that the first 1,000 days of their life is very important, that they have to have good nutrition, and we know very well that the growing up years are the most precious to develop the mind and the attitude, and all that things. So that's why now we have a dasar Kanak-kanak Negeri Selangor. But it's more very holistic, which we hope will be carried out. We are in the process, actually, dasar Pembangunan kanak-kanak.
Right.
Yeah, it's about children's development. It's not about only children's in need, but we're talking about the whole.
Exactly, because
children.
Stunting, malnutrition, obesity does not necessarily occur only for B40.
Yes. It's not only B40. B40 may need more attention, but people from the T20 as well sometimes are being neglected, the children are being neglected, their development are being neglected. Some people equate a good upbringing and good childhood growth is equal to good income. Not necessarily. It can be spent on many other things except what they should have.
True. Let's talk about parental bonding, parental attention, and
all
the
those
role of
things.
that when it comes to family development.
When we talk about that, Tamina, I realized that this is one thing that I realized a long time ago when I started my family. We spent 5-6 years in university to study, to become someone to be educated, to have a profession, to have a job. But we did not even have one module to talk about family life. And this is one of my dreams. I hope people after me will take it up, that we have to start it early. Some people are lucky coming from a good home. They understand about a family life. But most, especially we're talking about B40 or some M40 or maybe T20 as well, whereby there is no family life. There is no role model. You see, most of us, when we get married, we have family, the first role model we see is to our parents. Or how we were brought up. So you repeat, if your parents make the mistake, you repeat the same mistake. If you came from a good family which have good values and showed you good examples, then your starting point is much better. So, but that too is still lacking because you cannot. It's not the same for us to look back and think that everything that our parents did was right.
Of course,
There's
also generational understanding.
And I find that when I was bringing up my children, I was looking high and low. What are the materials I can use? Resources to bring up my children, because suddenly I realized that when they're kids, when they're small, baby toddlers, it's much fun, because it's about lovey-dovey and then you give them time. But later on, when they grow a little bit, it's different. You have to tackle them differently, and then they become teenagers, and then and then I thought, oh my God, I'm not prepared for all those.
And imagine, of course, those challenges in 2023 for someone with teenagers.
And the challenges now is much bigger. We didn't have internet at that time. We didn't have gadgets at that time. And we used to joke like, if you are brought up in the village, the whole village will look after you. Your mom will get the report at the end of the day what you did in the village.
And I think that speaks to perhaps the wider issue that all societies are dealing with. We now primarily live in nuclear families. And it's so much more difficult for a solo father and mother couple to be taking care of children.
So time have changed and family units have changed. We have to look at it, I think, almost like continuously and see what the changes are and how we as a government have to prepare parents for this. Some parents are not prepared at all. So I want to come back to about our ignorance about family life. If we can say that at a certain age, of course, I think we have a little bit in, I suppose, when you're in secondary school, maybe in your civics, in your moral studies, whatever it is, But consciously, are we bringing up people, teenagers? Are they prepared for family life? And what do they have? What knowledge do they have? And who can they turn to? If they have good family support, that's very good. But in a nuclear family,
that's quite difficult.
It's quite difficult.
True.
You don't
have. And Waibi, if I could move the conversation along to you, telling us a little bit more about what your hopes and aspirations are for the other end of the life cycle when it comes to our elderly citizens, the golden era.
That is one thing I have not been able to start up some worthwhile program, but we have already talked about it under our Selangor Public Health Advisory, and I'm glad that twice during our MMKN retreat, the State Exco retreat, we have invited experts to talk about the challenges of elderly life, or what we call senior citizens. How are we going to prepare our senior citizens for this? Because I think by the year 2030 we'll become an old elderly state, super elderly state with more than 20% of our our population is 60 and above, you know, and I think most of our people are not ready for this, you know, not only financially, but what they're going to do with their life, how they're going to prepare themselves with a longer lifespan, how they're going to take care of themselves. Now we're just looking at health. We're not looking about their social well-being.
We've done very well as a country uplifting the life expectancy.
Yes.
Now, what do we do with
now,
those
what
extra
do we do with
15,
this?
20
So
years?
that's what the question we have to ask. From this realization has to come from at a younger age, you know, not when you're already going about to pension or you're going to stop work. Most people don't want to think about it. They say, "Oh, you know, I have my pension," but we have to talk about this from a younger age group.
Future planning.
The future planning has to come from now. If you don't talk to them about that, and then not only mentally, physically, economically, they have to be prepared for a longer lifespan, and because of this nuclear family changes in the family structure. The children are not going to live with them anymore, and the current population of working men and women do not want to live with the children anymore. They want to live on their own because they want their freedom. They do not want to be restricted by they want a different lifestyle. So we have to discuss this in our community and society, and we have to prepare the country for this. And Selangor is going to have to be forefront in this because we have 7 million, more than 7 million population, and we have, I think, about nearly 500,000 of 60 people, 60 years and above, which Selangor is giving scheme Mesra Usia Mas of 150 ringgit per year. Per year, not per month, per year. You see, before when we started with it, people look at it, 100 ringgit is nothing. Yes. But recently, when we raised it to 150, we have a sudden surge because of the change in economy and all that. And even 150 is something valuable to people.
Absolutely. You see? And moving on from not leaving anyone behind as well, let's talk a little bit about Yayasan Anak Istimewa Selangor.
Oh yes. Tamina, I think the satisfaction I got from these 5 years, Alhamdulillah, is because at last I feel that Selangor State have put our Anak Istimewa, our special needs children, in one of its, even in the Rancangan Selangor Pertama, in our Selangor State Plan, and we have succeeded in a short while, I think by leaps and bounds. I'm very grateful actually. We started off with 3 million of, initially the state was only helping or dishing out money or aids to EIP centres, early intervention centres, but we realised that they are far in between and are expensive, not accessible to many people, and the cost of having a special needs child is very expensive. Sure. So we started with bantuan khas, special needs up to 5,000, and we also subsidize 200 ringgit per month for their fees in special needs school or centers. But I think the most, and then we also started increasing awareness and imparting knowledge to people who are involved with special needs children. We try to integrate special needs children into ordinary kindies, and
mainstreaming them.
Mainstream, we want to mainstream them. No more stigmatization. We have to accept them, and we realize that when everybody wants to go to EIP centers, it's very costly. So we said, why don't the state start with something helping parents to help the children? So we have our Special Needs Children Support Center. We don't take the children as in early intervention centers, EIP centers, but we call upon the parents and their children or their guardian to come, and we give like 2 sittings per week, and to teach them, first to diagnose those cases that are not diagnosed yet, looking at their function, and teach them how to carry on with daily life first. Because in Malaysia, it's still, it takes quite some time before a child is diagnosed as whether you're autistic, whether you are down
Accurately,
accurately, because you need a medical a pediatric developmental pediatrician to do that. But functionally, we can have our therapists to do that, and from there we diagnose what they need, and we start off by helping upskilling the skills of people around them, so that these children will get early intervention by their family members first, and later on we think of something else for them. But
it's about the life cycle planning.
Life cycle planning. So initially, I was responsible for only children below 6 before they go to school.
Right.
You look at the taska because they're kanak-kanak. But later on, we find that we cannot stop there, because parents of older children are coming, they're going to school, and they're not prepared for school, and there's not enough centers for it. So we also now have a preschool center where they come before they go to a class pendidikan khas, a special class in the school by our in the Ministry of Education, and that too is not enough, right? And of course, when we start doing this, we have our networking or NGOs. You see, when Tamina, we are trying to do things for people, they all come and they network with us, and I'm so happy because there's a lot of across what we call inter-agencies and
multi-stakeholders.
Stakeholders. And when we want to do something, one thing about Selangor, we have a think tank for Majlis Tindakan Orang Kurang Upaya. Our think tank will state what the problems are, what we should do. So when we do it with all the other groups, they come in, the stakeholders come in, and we try to accommodate everybody, because everybody has their expertise.
That's right.
Yeah.
And together, I think there's a much more strategic plan.
Yes.
All right.
So if you can see this building, IDCC, we just expanded another wing for our special needs children. We have another center for the preschool, and one more we have added is the what we call independent living support center. We have what we call special needs for physical needs, or OKU for physical needs.
Right.
JKM has a center for them, but children with what we call learning disability, they do not have anywhere to go. So when they finish their special, what we call special classes in the secondary school, if they cannot make it, they don't have the right qualification to go for TVET, they cannot go anywhere.
Correct.
Right.
So it's all about taking those steps steadily so that they can be taken correctly.
Yes.
YB, as we move towards closing this conversation, I would like you to perhaps share your thoughts on the fact that, of course, you're not defending your seat in Sri Serdang.
Yeah.
Now, what is your advice to particularly women policymakers, those who also wanting to enter the arena, to just go for it? Because yourself, all the wealth of experience you have specifically stated that you're taking a step back from the state seat to give an opportunity to the next generation.
Yeah. I think by being a legislator, or a member of parliament, or adun, for 3 terms, that have given me enough experience. I've listened enough to the ground. I know what the ground problems are, which sometimes I feel a little bit frustrated because policies are not changing as quick as I want them to. Yeah. So what I want to say to the younger generation is that you have to be sincere, because this will take a lot of your time and your energy. If you think that the money and what we call the rewards, you're going for the rewards, then you are going to be, you're not going to do as well, because you have other aims in your, or you want to become someone because of something. You have to be a little bit passionate about what you are doing, because passion is the thing that will drive us, not the money. But if your passion is money, that's something else. Might as well become a businessman or something else. But when you see, the term legislator in a country is sometimes misleading. You see, in the Malay, in the Bahasa, is wakil rakyat, people's representative. Correct. But in the English term, it's a legislator. You see, we are supposed to look at the legislation, the policies. If you need to change the enactments, you have to change. If you need any new laws, you have to do that. But to be able to do that, you have to understand the problems at the grassroots first.
That's right.
Yeah. So take that as an experience so that you can do much, later. And it need not be. You need not be a representative anymore. Once you know the problem, what the problem is, you can then become a pressure group, NGO, and so on. You see, so because of course, you can't do everything because everything is a sub-specialization. If you decide to do children, then you have to. Right now when I'm not a representative anymore, so I said, which one shall I focus on? I have to focus on something. Or else I'll be jack of all trades, master of none. Right now I'm jack of all trades.
It's all about specializing.
It's about after that. It's about specializing. Yeah, and we'll see how it is. But I think because of my age now, I'm already in my 6th decade. And I think I want to help the older generation. As people come into that, you must know what to prepare for.
That's right.
So from my experience, I can share with them and say, okay, you have to prepare for this. So perhaps they don't have to make the same mistakes as we did. Yeah, they don't have to learn the hard way. Yeah, and hopefully we can mentor some of the new representatives, and they will much prepared than I was when I became an MP.
Sure. Thank you so very much for your time today, YB Dr. Siti Mariah Mahmud. And of course, that has been this episode of Suara Wanita Selangor, focusing on the importance of family and community development. And I'm Tamina Kausji. With that, we sign off and we take a quick break.